let's start.
Yeah.
Start introducing what is your role, then I will ask the question.
Sure.
Exactly. Okay.
Okay, so my name is Thomas Desrues. You can call me Thomas. I'm in charge of the go-to-market organization for Juniper in France, Italy, Greece, and Israel.
Okay. And what are the trends now in Israel, especially?
Well,
In
you
cloud?
know that cloud is definitely one. But cloud is more an answer to business challenges that we see in the various verticals where we operate. Service provider, enterprise, and cloud are our cloud providers are our three major markets. And we see similarities in terms of trends across this market.
Yeah.
In terms of security, in terms of softwareization of the networking infrastructures, in terms of transformation from independent, standalone cloud network infrastructure to the need for a seamless multi-cloud transformation. And all that sustained or with the common umbrella, which is around simplicity. So we see a crucial need from the business and the CIO serving their own business, and how do we simplify their operations.
Okay. What is the market of the service provider in Israel is a big one, or it's what are special needed?
Well, the market or the service provider market in Israel is definitely a very important one for us. We work with basically all the service providers of the Israeli market, from the very largest incumbent tier 1, starting with Bezeq, to tier 2, tier 3, and even MVNO service providers that rely on Juniper for their networking infrastructure.
Every internet.
No, the internet. All telecom service providers.
Yeah, I understand. Every use of the internet is going through your.
In one way or the other, they will probably go through Juniper.
Yeah. Like in most of the countries, by the way. It's not. This is not specific to Juniper. It's also very true in Israel. Most of the internet traffic in the country at some point goes through internet through Juniper routers, for sure.
Okay. What can you tell about security problem, the issues? Because the router is an entrance point, to the network, and it's the first thing that the hackers.
Absolutely.
How you say?
Hackers. Yeah.
Never mind. No, I said just how I announce it. They try to get,
And that's definitely a good point. Among the trends that I was mentioning, security is by far one of the largest concerns from all our customers, starting with service providers. And as you know, Juniper, we are a routing, switching, security, and software company. So security is a big part of our business. Specific to Juniper, in terms of how do we position security on the networking market, is that we don't consider that security should be a standalone activity, protect the network with a bunch of firewall at the periphery. But because the network is becoming so complex, because the openness of the network is becoming so important and crucial to the agility that is required, we believe that security needs to be embedded into each point of presence.
People work from their
phone. Security breach don't come only and exclusively from outside the network, but sometimes from inside the companies that we are trying to protect with a pure peripheral approach. And this leads to our vision of security as completely embedded into the networking industry, into the networking approach, meaning that routers needs to also be point of presence where we enforce security policies.
Can you give an example for such a policy?
Well, the policy is the way you ask network equipment, router, switch, or firewall to protect the network from attacks. What I mean by network and security embedded together, we call it software defined secure network.
Okay.
Is that security is not only a problem of firewall. Security needs to be deployed not only at the periphery, but in each of the point of presence where you have an active equipment. And orchestration, software orchestration, enable to deploy these policies into.
Do you use AI, artificial intelligence, for that?
Yeah, that's AI.
Otherwise, people or even regular computer cannot cope with all the variations of attacks.
One of the key elements there is, especially if you think about something like IoT, so we have sensors that are too small, have too little compute and battery to do any significant endpoint protection of its own, must look to the network to secure it instead. And that's where software-defined secure network steps in with an element of machine learning or AI to monitor a base level of normal behavior, and then as soon as behavior changes, then that alerts the network to whether or not there's a potential attack, or it could just be something.
And you cannot predict which kind of attack, because the hackers are very יצירתיים. Creative. Sorry,
yes, indeed.
It's a simple word, but I'm tired.
I think if you do it, basically is security by design, meaning you look at the automation, the software-defined security platform is actually how you actually design your infrastructure to cope with different security threats before you actually implement the firewall. It's not the concept to put a firewall, put a endpoint security. It's how you actually look at the design of the security element within the infrastructure.
Yeah.
And this is the concept of software-defined security.
Yeah. The software-defined network I know for years now, so now you add the security for that.
That's one of the strong points for Juniper would be the automation, monitoring, and tools like the Contrail Enterprise. It's not only to look on the Juniper equipments and run them and manage them, but you also look at other elements, including the security, but also from other vendors, and making a whole suite of way to think and run your network rather than perpetual per vendor. Is think of the design of your infrastructure prior to actually putting the elements in. And this is the advantage of how Juniper looks at the not only the network, but also the security part of the network. The Contrail Enterprise multi-cloud.
Another way of basically saying the same thing is that we believe that the three concepts of network, security, and automation are going together and cannot be managed standalone. Meaning, what do I mean by that? Security is part of the way we approach the challenges of the networking industry. It needs to be by design, as Tomer was saying. Automation is one of the key criteria of remediation against the more and more important number of attacks and diversity of attacks, as you were saying. And machine learning and AI enters into the picture as a way to make the automation smarter and smarter by asking the machine to learn themselves how to react in front of new and always more diverse attacks. And these three concepts, networking, security, and automation, that's really the DNA of Juniper.
Yes, because even though today I understand that the CIO have to look on several screens with information from several part of the, could be 100, I don't know.
He still might look at different monitoring tools, but if you want to run your system, the CIO might have a public cloud platform at the AWS and might have a private cloud with Juniper or whatever. to run the two systems together, and each system has different vendors in it.
Of course.
It's something that it's a headache for the CIO. This is where the concept of Juniper being with the open Contrail, not open Contrail, the enterprise Contrail, Contrail enterprise solution is basically agnostic to the different elements you have there. It's the concept of how to run your system, how to manage it properly. And this is where the prime advantage that Juniper brings now to the table, which is a different concept. You know, most vendors look at a propriety. They have their own system, and it's a propriety for their own system. Juniper took a different approach.
Yeah.
Which might be
it could be
but I think it's as a system integrator who represents different vendors, who works at companies where have a full suite of different solutions in their infrastructure. This is an advantage. It's not a chokehold. I basically look at it as something that gives the CIO an advantage on the feasibility he has on his network, and to squeeze as much as he can from the current investment. So it's a good approach.
You cannot hire too many workers, many
not only that, but
employees to that.
If things are becoming more and more complicated in your network, and running different clouds within your network or your infrastructure, and your end user is agnostic to what you have, whether it's AWS, Azure, or private cloud, but you have to run the system with a tight budget, with a very severe and harsh technical requirements that you have to stand on, 5 nines, whatever, and you have no visibility, then you have a problem. The approach is basically, providing the power back to the ones that run the show, the CIOs, the CTOs, and so on, have the more visible information, and not necessarily only as a vendor locking, but it's a concept, and this concept is equivalent not only to the infrastructure but also to the security of the infrastructure.
So now you have a Unite dashboard.
Well, it's not. I won't say a dashboard. You can, by the way, but it's not the United dashboard. It's when you run the system and see the whole different elements, and you can properly maneuver the resources accordingly, and you can run it properly and see the bottlenecks you have before you have it and flow. It's not a monitoring system.
No, but
it's
in the end, it have also help monitor.
It does, but the elements have to provide the input back to the system. The way the system runs is basically to allow you a full mesh of running your operations at the end of it, and adding on to it, from configuration spread to running the system.
What is most needed in this area in the Israeli market, because we have a lot of defense community, defense industry, and of course the defense force themselves. That my daughter is part of them.
As such, security is, and we were just discussing about security, specifically when it comes to the defense industry, is obviously extremely important. In Israel, but in every country where we have projects ongoing. So security is one, absolutely top of mind for everybody. Need for simplification is the second one. It's ultimately about how do we make sure that we help our customers who are running large, very complex network infrastructure to simplify their operation in a secure manner.
Yeah, and in the army, it must be super secure.
Because you need to scale up in terms of, basically in Israel, we might want to double check the data, the exact figure, but I suspect that in Israel, like in most of the countries, the capacity is growing, is multiplied by 2 every 2 years. So it's growing 100% every 2 years. So you need to scale up the network infrastructure to be able to absorb this growth of traffic, coming either from the population, from the enterprise consumption, and so on. So it's about scaling up. This adds.
Unfortunately, the fiber project was stuck.
Fiber to the homes. Well,
Yeah.
you could look at it if it's stuck or it might be revoked soon. Because not revoked, actually revived soon.
Revived.
Because
But it will have another monopoly of Cellcom.
well, you never know what would Bezeq do, because Bezeq have the spread. They only have to they do have one way or the other a way to do fiber to the home. But it will happen eventually.
5G,
That was a side.
Think as well about 5G in terms of connectivity. Well, we'll see how the regulation is evolving on the FTTH market in Israel specifically. But 5G is also coming as a way to
Of course, yeah.
absolutely
That was the next
increase the capacity perspective.
I want to ask. Yeah.
Uh,
It will increase a lot. It will.
It will increase extremely drastically the capacity that we are going to, that the operators, the service providers are going to provide to the market. But
So they have now to upgrade their infrastructure.
exactly, all this growth in terms of capacity comes with more complexity, new equipment, new infrastructure, more requirements in terms of security, and ultimately this needs simplification. And I'm back to the point that I was mentioning before in terms of how do we help the service provider, the enterprise, the cloud provider of this world to simplify their operations. This comes through openness. We were discussing that just before. Open systems and infrastructure are absolutely on the critical path for simplification. You cannot simplify if you are locked in with a given vendor. It comes with software, and applied to the networking industry, we talk about software-defined network or secure. And back to the security part, software-defined secure network was one variation of this software-defined networking.
Yeah.
Because software will add some kind of abstraction layer, giving you the possibility to automate the way you deploy and you operate your network. So you were saying, ultimately, I want to have one unique, single point of control.
Yeah.
Maybe the ultimate state is not even that. Maybe the ultimate state is you don't have any more point of control and the network is driving it itself.
Yeah.
With machine learning and intelligence, artificial intelligence, and you can really unleash the real perspective of all this incremental capacity. Ask your people to focus on innovation and the network will drive itself. We are not there yet, but automation, softwareization of the networking industry will step by step drive us into this way with the ultimate purpose of simplifying the operations by automation.
How we see the advance of the 5G infrastructure establishment of
the preparation of 5G deployment. We see a lot of projects, definitely. We see a different kind of project. It's not anymore
one technology.
Only
GSM,
about which
like
equipment I'm going to select and refresh my old generation of equipment by a new generation of equipment. It's really with all the service provider with whom we are engaged into a 5G transformation discussion. It's how do I benefit from the perspective of cloud to really change the paradigm under which I build my network infrastructure. Software is the new standard, or is going to become the new standard. Virtualization of the appliance is everywhere. This opened the way to discussion in terms of what are the role of the usual service provider, engineers and technical teams, because their role and business process are changing as well. And we see the industry getting ready step by step to
also supporting IoT
transformation.
Supporting IoT equipment, that broadcasting.
And in order to scale with 5G networks or IoT new networks, you need to transform the way you build your network infrastructure and adapt the cloud to a traditional service provider network.
Is it really changed from the 4G? What was the attribute of the 4G that now is not usable or not?
That's a very good question. Capacity is definitely one attribute. You will get extremely
capacity is the
capacity. That's
the outcome.
That's the outcome. Now, which exactly are going to be the business case leveraging this capacity on the market. I'm not sure anybody really knows yet, to be honest.
Yeah.
Whether it's on the residential market or on the enterprise market. Well, companies are working hard on trying to understand how they're going to leverage this capacity, but I think it will take 1 or 2 more years before we know for sure what are going to be the first use case. IoT is one, but it's leveraging different kind of networks. So
What about smart cars, autonomous cars?
Well, smart cars, smart cities, smart utilities, smart healthcare. All these are obviously a part of IoT and 5G.
They need both of them to start to be efficient, or to be, because we didn't know what is apps before 3G. Then suddenly everything is apps.
Yes, absolutely.
So that kind of revolution we can see there in the 5G too.
And nobody was watching a video on Facebook before you got 4G.
Of course, yes. So we don't know still what creative people will find a use with the 5G.
The augmented reality will be the new standards when you connect on your favorite social platform enabled by 5G.
Oh, we'll install a chip with our mind, with our kids. They'll be born with a
5G
5G chip in their
5G.
head.
5G, it will
They
be
don't
the
need a device
10G.
anymore.
The way the technology is run, it will be the 10G or the 20.
I agree with you.
Yeah, probably.
I talked with Ronnie, the other journalist, that the pace of the change of technology now is something that's never been in the history, and people cannot adopt because the pace, mainly after you can try to compare it to the industrial revolution in the 18th, 19th century. The world changes, but it changed.
Guys, 10 years ago, this wasn't invented.
Yeah, I know. But there is each generation had a new stuff and they can adapt. But here, the same person can see totally different in his lifetime, and the lifespan is much higher now.
Yeah. It's going to be only exponential. In 10 years from now, we will not need to drive anymore. The car will be probably autonomous. It's already working. It's not mass market yet, of course.
Yeah.
But,
the infrastructure have to adapt first.
Sorry?
The infrastructure. Yes, because
and the politics in the case
politics.
of, the law and
there will probably be some money involved in one way or the other.
That's a very important point. And even if you don't go so large in terms of how do you need to change the infrastructure, what is slowing down today the innovation, including in the networking industry, is not really technology. Technology is getting there. It's almost already there as far as 5G is concerned. It's how do you transform the skills of the people, the business process of the companies, the mindset under which they operate, and this requires.
And what we will do with all the million of drivers?
They will go on Facebook and leverage 5G thanks to augmented reality.
Beam me up, Scotty, and then someone will beam us up. It will be like the Enterprise, I don't know, the Star Trek.
Yeah. No, but I were a few weeks ago in IBM's lab in Zurich, and they have their talk with the vice president of AI ethics.
AI ethics?
Yeah. There's
ethics in there,
yeah. If you take the autonomous car, and it have a problem like the trolleys problem with the truck. There is a branch of the truck, but if it continue with the truck, it will collide with another trolley. If it go outside, it can get people down. So what is the policy?
What is the policy?
Yeah,
which people do you kill?
They didn't. First of all, the answer was that it will be much less accidents because of the connection between car to everything, the infrastructure to other cars.
It might be less, but
Less.
if it would be much more severe.
And then like the immunes, people will forget what have been with when they was not an immune vaccine. Sorry, a vaccine to measles, and then now there are anti-vaccines because they think that people killed of that, but they didn't understand that much folds, 10-fold or 1,000-fold, and more people died.
Yeah. But I mean,
to
your point around AI ethics, I mean, this is more bias in machine learning, but there was a really interesting study a little while ago I saw. A machine learning algorithm was asked to translate to learn to translate between two languages, and two of the languages was given was a Nordic language in which there's no gender that's gender neutral.
Okay.
So there's no real he, she, it's more just them or that person. Is a more direct translation. And when it translated to English, it would translate things like so it would in the Nordic language it would be the doctor, and it would change it to he did, so the doctor did this, he did this. Or
they talk about this too.
And nurses were automatically, because in the body of text of the machine learning thing, it was doctors were traditionally male and nurses were, so it automatically inserted gender bias just based on its machine learning.
Discrimination by AI.
And that's a very simple example.
The problem is we need to learn from history. They don't have any other choice.
Yes. Exactly.
So they also
it's a hard one to it's a hard circle to square, but
by the way, not from IBM, but I tell this story to other people, and one of them told me that the answer is very simple: to save the people in the car. Otherwise, no one will buy an autonomous car if the car could kill him.
Again, then we're coming into business, money at the end of the day.
Yeah,
it's all
they
about
prefer
business.
to kill someone outside and not
within the car.
Anybody in the car.
Yeah,
because people have to be protected in the car. But I don't know. Maybe his guess.
Yeah, you have to buy the extra license for that. You have to buy the premium package.
I'm sorry, I need to run to another meeting. So
Okay.
I have 5 more minutes. Actually, it's
you can summarize what is the highlight of what you want me to write. And then I will dive into it. Dive into it.
You are my favorite journalist right now.
What do we? No. Well, again, maybe to sum up.
The headline. What is the headline of your talk?
So Juniper, we position ourselves as a company solving problems of security, complexity, transformation to the multi-cloud journey. We do that, so that's who we are. We do that for service provider, enterprise, and cloud providers. We have declared war to complexity. So our mission as a company, as a networking company, is to simplify the way networks are being operated.
Mm-hmm. That's a good headline.
And what else? And that's good already if we sum up.
I think that's.
And software, maybe just let me add one word on that. Software and the way we build new generation of network being software driven is at the heart of this transformation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
To know about it.